are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Sir Lana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and salutations, I am Spaceboy.
And I'm Sir Lana.
And it is Spaceboy Universe time. It is July 8th, 2017, and we're on show number 141. And tonight our special guest is Tessa-b-Dick, author. And as always, if you'd like to follow us, you can do so by going to Twitter. That's at the SB Universe. Follow the host, Sir Lana. That's at Sir Lana. And follow me at Spaceboy Music. And of course, follow the network. That's at the SBU Network. Remember to hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag SB Universe. And of course, hashtag Space Cadets, because you are a bunch of little rascals out there. Hang out with those Space Cadets by going to spaceboyuniverse.com and click on the dancing chat bubble. That'll get you in with all the cool kids. In addition to Twitter, you can find the universe on Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, and so much many more places. Speaking of YouTube, Sir Lana, you know you can find more than the SBU archive of shows? That's right. There is video content from SB Music, Spaceboy Universe video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, which is more coming very shortly, and so much more. Also, we'd like you to subscribe so that you can be tuned in to the universe on YouTube. Can't catch the show live? No problemo. Take the SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, because we love to broadcast. And on that magical note, as I pipe Sir Lana up, how are you tonight, Sir Lana?
Can you hear me? Oh, there I am.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just checking.
I just didn't, as this system is set up now, I can really hear you breathing.
See, the past broadcast, I kept asking the listeners and you, can you hear me breathing? I know I can hear me breathing.
I mean,
it's that sensitive.
It's almost like...
Or do I really breathe that heavy?
Well, Darth Vader. Can you adjust your mic to where it's like this? So it's not so angled in. Talk to me.
I'm trying to look at you, see how you got yours.
Oh, yeah. See, there, it's much better.
Is that better?
I'm trying to not speak directly into the mic because I'm getting a lot of popping. And so,
yeah.
And so
that's cool.
I followed... You're going to love this. I followed your example.
Of
kicking the mic back a little bit so that I'm not really,
Well, you're on my case about, you got to put the mic right in there. And I was just
I could barely hear you, dear. And so
I just wanted to slap you.
Anyway, so, that's our show tonight. Everybody, have a good evening.
It was just a one big sound check and we're gone.
So, it's nice. It seems like we haven't been on in forever.
Well, we have. It's just, I was asking you before we started the show, doesn't it feel like 2 weeks have gone by since last Saturday?
It does seem like 2 weeks. I think what it is, Sir Lana, and you might agree with me.
What is it, July the 4th messed things up? Or?
Well, no, I think it is that we kind of missed Reverend John Polk.
Yeah, that's throwing things off, too.
Reverend John Polk is in the process of moving. That's why he hasn't been on the network on Wednesday nights. We miss him terribly. I hope he's doing well out there.
Does he have somewhere to move to? Did you find that part out?
All I know, like a page out of the Pet Shop Boys song "Go West," is that's where he's heading.
Okay, I guess he'll land somewhere.
I know at some point, as he makes his way across the United States, I believe he's going to be stopping by.
Is he going to go on like an epic journey?
I think he is. He's taken an epic journey. It's good for him, and I think some change is probably what's due for him. I know that he is, he's got family out towards Florida, and but I think that a new change, a new pace of life, will be great for him, because there's a lot of opportunities as he moves west to be closer to a lot of people that are like-minded like him out there.
Now that song is in my head.
What's that? Go
West?
West? That's a good song.
That is a good song.
I was jamming out to some Pet Shop Boys. Speaking of which, Neil Tennett's birthday is the 10th.
It was a 10th. Okay,
it's the 10th coming up. I mean, it's 2 more days. 2 more days.
Does that mean we have to go get some cake? Or?
Yeah, we'll get some cake to celebrate Neil Tennett's birthday of the Pet Shop Boys.
Any excuse will do.
Any cake will do for any day. There's 364 unbirthdays in a year, so we might as well celebrate those. So there you go, a little birthday news. And so what else you got going on over there, Sirlon? I've seen a lot of people come into the chat room.
Well,
I see Leanne in there. Hey, Leanne.
I know, it's unusual.
I see Tina in there. Awesome. Of course, if I don't mention his name, he'll throw a hissy fit. Hello, Kay. We see you. We're glad you're there. It's always a pleasure to have you into the area, in the chat area. So good. So, what were we going to say before?
Well, we passed July 4th this week, and
Right.
we had that one day off. And
One day.
of course, this is Texas, regardless of the fact that we're in the smack dab in the middle of Houston. It sounded like we lived in a war-torn country all the way to like 3 or 4 a.m. And then even the next night they kept popping stuff.
I did not hear the fireworks the
did.
night of July, going into July 4th. However,
I didn't sleep.
I heard them going into the next day. I
Yeah.
had to get up to go for work.
It's like they couldn't finish them off, so they had to do it the next day, too.
I have nothing against fireworks.
Neither do I.
I just, I'd rather have been popped according to... going
regulations.
Regulations, pull out the old firecracker popping handbook, so.
When I was a teenager, my friend Holly and I did some really stupid, irresponsible things with black cat fireworks.
Uh-oh, I can only imagine.
I'm not even going to tell you what we did because I don't want anybody to get any ideas.
Well, that reminds me of that stupid YouTube kid video that I saw where he put one in his mouth. Remember that one?
That's dumb.
How stupid do you got to be? I think he was, maybe 13 to 15 years old. And, so I don't know. It just, you got to be careful with that stuff. You can't play around with it. I mean, it's fun to play with it, but play with it responsibly.
Well, also on this day, July 8th, in 1776, the Liberty Bell tolls to announce the Declaration of Independence. So I thought that was pretty cool.
You're right.
The Confederates surrender Port Hudson, Louisiana, in 1863. And let's see. Yeah, Liberty Bell. 1853, Commodore Perry sails into Tokyo Bay. 1950, MacArthur named Korean commander, I guess, of that theater, of the war.
And yeah, I don't want to. I was going to get political there, but yeah, it's interesting to note MacArthur and that time period and what the interesting situation is that we are in our world today with Korea. In
1918, Ernest Hemingway was wounded on the Italian front of World War I. And in this day, 1941, German general's diary reveals Hitler's plans for Russia. So.
All right. So now that you've been lectured on history, Neil Blomkamp, I hope I'm saying his last name. I always seem to get it wrong. Wants to bypass the studios and go directly straight to the fans. Have you seen that? He has a couple of short films that are out. There's this one that has this lizard-looking one, and it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I wonder if that's his interpretation of, people talk about the reptilian race, the Draco race. That would be a perfect depiction of that
And
race.
of all people is in that short is Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, she likes him.
Yeah, she apparently does. I think she was on board with the Aliens 5 movie that he wanted to do, but since it didn't pan out,
well, Ridley put a stop to it.
Well, he's on this.
He's gonna revival kick.
Yeah, he's on a revival kick between that and Blade Runner, but which is interesting.
Which ties into tonight's guest. But
I was going to say before you change it, or what were you going to say?
well, I was saying I was on Steam and I was poking around looking for stuff to put on my wish list, and I saw Oats Studio content on there, which is Blomkamp's studio, Oats Studio, and I watched. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a short, and it didn't show the end of it unless that was the entire thing. It was maybe 20 some odd minutes long, and it looked like a sci-fi fantasy thing, and it was about a river god, about a man who's so struck by grief in this, I don't know if it's the Vietnam War, the Korean War or something. He turns himself into an undead monster, and he can make zombies out of other dead, and to kind of get vengeance. It was really strange and different.
Well, I like it because he's
It's fire something.
It's outside of the box. This is not the first set of shorts or movies that have gone to Steam.
Some kind of content you could download on Steam extra if you have it.
But I like the fact that it's like, forget you studios, I'm going to make my own movies.
You don't have to do it anymore.
And it's kind of like with me with making music. I don't have to be like a part of a big name label or anything.
We don't even need Hollywood anymore for entertainment, for
create
TV.
Create my content and put it out there. I mean, we see it so often on YouTube with all the different artists and,
As long as somebody's got a cell phone or a camera that takes video, I'm perfectly content watching cat videos and people falling off of skateboards than the latest blockbuster,
I find it more interesting to watch that and, our Russian cam videos that we like to watch.
It's actual real life, mostly unscripted, and
it's like, no, he didn't. So anyway, so cool stuff. And, speaking of, we were talking about Sigourney Weaver and aliens. Apparently the Alien Covenant movie will be out on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital release set for August. Which I'm excited to get. I was a fan of that. In fact, selected retailers will have bonuses. Like Walmart will have Alien Day fan art designed T-shirts. The Target will have a 36-page booklet featuring the inside look of David's lab.
Oh, this is Alien. Okay.
Yeah, and let's see. Best Buy will have an Alien baby xenomorph. Which will be with the book, I guess, and that's pretty cool. And this thing is packed with just features beyond your wildest imagination. So that'll be pretty awesome to get. As always, we'll probably get the digital release from Amazon because that's where we do the majority of our purchases. So that'll be out in August. So August 1st. Are people
still buying DVDs?
I'm sure there's still people that buy the DVDs and Blu-rays, but digital content is just so much easier than and plus you don't have all the mass of DVDs or Blu-rays collecting. Are you okay over there?
I'm just listening to you.
Scoping things out.
Why are you looking at me?
I thought you were like...
Stop looking at me.
She was doing a Stevie Wonder thing over there.
Stop looking at me.
I had to look at you.
I'm just waiting for you to finish.
I was concerned about you. Anyway, so...
well, just don't look at me.
Newsflash. Alana is all right.
All right. Could you move along, please?
Well, go ahead and take it. I mean, I've said my piece about aliens.
Well, speaking of that type of thing, aliens, there's a mysterious trailer out on YouTube, and it's teasing a Close Encounters of the Third Kind re-release. Sony Pictures has released this mysterious trailer Monday titled This Means Something. It's meant to tease an exclusive theatrical re-release in time for its 40th anniversary. It features air traffic controllers tracking a colorful but unexplained craft that's slowly descending before it disappears. And there's flashes from the original 1977 movie. And there's a website that flashes that says, wearestillnotalone.com. And it asks visitors to sign up for news on UFO sightings. And the title itself, comes from that iconic line from the movie where Dreyfus, makes the mashed potato sculptures, like this means something. So there could be a theatrical re-release to celebrate the anniversary, but there's no word on when they're going to do it, although they said to be aware that the anniversary date is November 16th.
Well, that's pretty exciting. So re-release in the movies, theaters? Maybe?
Yeah, and it's just 40. I guess this year is the 40th anniversary, but they don't have a release date for it. But they said keep in mind the actual anniversary for the film is November 16th, so it could be that day.
Oh, that sounds exciting. That reminds me of movies again. And tonight, the theme tonight is what movie traumatized you as a kid? So that is one of the things that if you...
Is that a Twitter question?
That's a Twitter question. So go to Twitter, put that movie that traumatized you as a kid into the SBU Universe, and then of course hashtag Space Cadets, so that we can track that tonight. And that is the movie that traumatized you as a kid. Right off the bat, I'll just let rip one out real quick, and it was the Return of the Living Dead. And there's a scene where one of the, I guess you could call it the zombie, comes out of this canister, and he's all gooey and everything.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. And it freaked me out, man. I tell you, I just had a hard time sleeping after that one. But, yeah, so...
Well, for me, it's something stupid that's not the least bit scary.
Oh, do tell.
I was a kid, though, so that's what your first criteria, right?
Yes, first, what movie traumatized
it was
you as a kid?
Hitchcock's The Birds.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just very, I guess, impressionable. And I remember we still lived in the country, and I guess we had company over.
Yeah.
And I guess I was told to go play outside, just get out the way. And I couldn't, and I was young, so for some reason I couldn't figure out how to get back in the house. And these birds were coming out, and I guess I just freaked, and that's just a little snippet of memory I have.
Wow. I hear it's the word.
The bird?
Yes. So, but yeah, tonight, go out to Twitter, tell us the movie that traumatized you as a kid, and a little bit later on this evening, we'll share that and share with all the rest of the Space Cadets in the universe out there. So, let's see here. What else we have brewing in our thing here? Solana, what do you
I've got more if you
Oh, yes, please. Go ahead.
Uh-huh. So, in music news,
Okay.
well, there's two music items I've got. Seattle, the place, Seattle, is producing a grunge jukebox musical.
Okay.
Which seems like an oxymoron. Those two things shouldn't go together.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from avclub.com. That's my favorite hipster website. They're saying, get your striped shirts and disaffected expressions and tap shoes ready. There's the Seattle-based musical. It's going to be centered around the world of grunge music. And it's in, the Variety paper magazine publication. Says the Seattle Repertory Theater has commissioned this play based on the world of 1990s era alt rock. And what's interesting about this is that the theater has struck a licensing deal with BMG, the biggest, copyright holders out there, to the rights for songs from bands like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Smashing Pumpkins. In fact, the former manager of Nirvana, Janet Billig Rich, is on board with the project, and it's like a Kurt Cobain musical jukebox. That was a Freudian slip. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being blown out too with my voice. I don't know if I'm too loud.
Well, just push the microwave a little.
I've pushed as far as
microwave.
it goes. The Kurt Cobain musical jukebox would be. It says the plot of the play focuses on a quote-unquote brilliant grunge musician who meets an untimely death. Mm-hmm. The grunge scene has been reignited because of the high-profile death of Audioslave Soundgarden's Chris Cornell, mm-hmm. who committed suicide.
Right.
So there's no mention of when and where this is going to debut. I think there still must be in the production works part of it. So.
Okay.
I thought that was a bit strange.
That is strange, but they've done other musicals, and so there you go.
Yeah. So, you want anything else from me, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we still got time for.
I found out that Spotify, our favorite music listening application on our phone, is testing a new feature, and I think if it works out, this would be really good. They're testing out a driving mode, and so if you're in your car and you're driving, this mode would you can enable this feature, which makes all the buttons larger. It will announce the songs and will have voice controls, so you can talk to it. And so it'll have a different interface when you're in drive mode. We'll have the car emblem at the bottom and a now playing window. And so like the backwards and forwards buttons will be bigger. The microphone would theoretically let you ask for certain songs to be played. Spotify can also announce the next song, so you don't have to look down to check the title. You don't have to constantly, be looking at your phone. But how I do it, of course, I've got a third-party radio installed in my vehicle, and it has, has a USB interface where I can interface with SoundCloud or YouTube or Spotify, and I can run the app like backward, forward, pause through my radio interface, so I don't really have to be looking at my phone. But not everybody has that, so it's not out yet. They've got some screenshots, but I think that's a good feature. I think they should pursue that. Keep pursuing it.
So, in Star Trek news, CBS All Access hopes that Star Trek, the original series, will help boldly go to 4 million subscribers by 2020. So they're hoping that...
good luck.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't even have to say.
We will not be one of them.
I mean, I guess it just irks me.
I'm irked too.
And
they won't. But the thing is, they won't even miss us.
And I'm wondering, because Netflix, right? Okay, Netflix has really given them the money they need to put this show on. So I'm wondering, once they air the series, will Netflix be able to play it like a year later kind of thing? Like some of their other content? Now, we already know that, I guess Netflix Abroad is putting the, what?
Go ahead. I'll tell you when you're done. Go ahead. Finish. I won't interrupt.
I'm sure I must have said it wrong.
Anyway, No. Good.
No, okay, good.
Not related.
All right, good.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so maybe I should stop looking at you. So
you should stop looking at me.
The thing is that Netflix Abroad is, playing it live on their I guess their streaming platform, and only here in America are you able to. Well, I think in Canada it's a special place you have to watch it too.
Oh, to watch this particular series,
the new Discovery. So. I don't know. I'm going to stop there. Just know that I really doubt that they're going to get 4 million subscribers by 2020. And I
mean, if the show's good enough,
I believe they canceled Enterprise for
less than that.
Than that. So.
Oh, they are quick to cancel a Star Trek series. Let me tell you.
Well, CBS in general. I mean,
yeah, they just don't get it.
Well, another one was Supergirl. Supergirl was on CBS. And they got rid of it, but I mean, I think it went to CW. So I really don't know the status of it, but apparently, I don't know. When it comes to cool programming like that, CBS just doesn't seem like it can hold on to it. But on other news, I enjoy watching my NCSI marathon every year once it goes to Netflix.
Yeah, it's like you can't you're still watching that show? Look, how many flipping episodes are there?
It's already the 14th season it's on its 14th season.
Good grief. Talk about beating a dead horse.
Well, no, it's been interesting. They've had a changeover in cast, but Mark Hamill's still in it.
Probably passed away.
Mark Hamill?
That's not Mark Hamill.
Mark, now I'm...
Oh, bless your heart with your names.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, what's his name? His name is Mark something. Mark.
Yeah, it's Mark something.
He was I believe in LA Law. Anyway, I'm going to turn it back over to Shalana. so that I can stop looking at her.
Again, beating a dead horse. I just happened to glance down at Twitter on my phone, and very graciously, Puzzometry, our favorite puzzle we can't solve, has tweeted, want something new, fun, and interesting to listen to tonight? Listen to spaceboyuniverse.com.
Oh, how kind. Thanks.
So, lovely shout out from Puzzometry.
Puzzometry and Jim Fox. That's awesome. Yes.
Hopefully we'll see them at Houston Maker Faire in October.
Well, most definitely. So, what else you got over there?
I have also got Rick and Morty finally gets a premiere date.
Finally. And that date is?
The last day of this month that we're in.
Are you sure they're not going to pull a fast one on us?
Well, it's hard to tell them. I did watch somebody, or maybe it was Adult Swim, or Cartoon Network /
the season premiere.
Somebody recorded the live stream they did to kind of announce it, and it was very random, all over the place, and naughty. And July 30th or 31st. Is there 30 or 31 days? Let me see.
You're going to ask me as we go to our calendar on our computer.
I think it's got to be the 30th because they'll normally premiere it on a Sunday.
Night,
it's got to be the 30th of this month.
Are you sure the 30th? Because
the 31st is a Monday.
The 29th is a Saturday.
I thought they did it on Sunday.
You don't think they'll do it midnight on Saturday?
That's entirely possible.
I mean, okay. So anyway, Rick and Morty, look for that. Let's see here. Anything else you got going on over there, Shalana?
I'm just saying hello to Miss Michelle. Hope she's doing well, staying strong.
Good.
Of course, Gene's in there too. And got some people we haven't seen before.
We got the man from down under himself.
Yes, haven't seen him in a while. Bloke from Oz. And a new person called Ice Sphere. Welcome.
Wow, we like new people.
Yes, fresh meat. I just saw something. We won't get into this because it's not. I don't want to bore people. This is just a me and you thing. But I just happened to see this random headline.
Yeah.
And it says, "New Surface Pro random shutdown and hibernation issues. Microsoft looking into it."
Nice.
Remind you of anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reminds me of a computer we've been working on today
For hours and hours and hours that will not.
Well, I think
work right.
I think we might have solved the issue. I think because it was a hard, kept shutting down, and I know it was hardware related, and I think it narrowed it down to the network adapter. So we replaced the. Well, I won't bore you. Just know that we've been working on that, and it's all good and set.
Yeah, we've double teamed trying to fix this brand new issue on my new computer. That's just right out of the box. Right out of the box, it's got issues.
Issues, I tell you. Okay, so you remember our good friend of the show, Jeff Mudgett, right? Oh
yeah. I follow him on social media, so I kind of see what he's up to.
He has been working hard behind the scenes, and in case y'all don't remember, Jeff Mudgett is the ancestor, his
descendant.
He's the descendant of the first serial killer here in America, of H.H. Holmes. And so I'd like to play a little something before we go into our actual first break, and we pull in our guest, Tessa-b-dick, and get communicating with her. So here we go.
Imagine knowing you're related to someone who brutally murdered hundreds of innocent people. I am a descendant of the devil. My great-great-grandfather, H.H. Holmes, was America's first serial killer. I've uncovered credible evidence which suggests that Holmes was Jack the Ripper. This might be the key to the entire investigation.
So tune in to the History Channel July 11th at 9 Central to catch the first episode of American Ripper and evaluate the evidence of H.H. Holmes' Jack the Ripper connection for yourself. So tune in and tell them the universe sent you.
Actually do that. The Spaceboy Universe sent you.
We'll be right back after this.
This is a test. This is a test. Test. This is a test to the SBU network. This is a test. This is a test. This is a test. Test, 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 test. This is a test to the SBU network.
And we're back. Welcome back. Tessa-b-Dick, the fifth wife of science fiction author Philip K. Dick, earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in Communications, and she has a Master of Arts degree in English Literature from Chapman University. She's taught English for 12 years, and she has been selling and publishing her own stories, poems, articles, photographs, and novels since 1969. So please welcome Miss Tessa-Dick. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It is Mrs.
Mrs., sorry.
As they say in Germany, once married, always married.
I think Sir Lon would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and of course they say it in German.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think the audience would appreciate my poor accent.
Oh, yeah? Well,
yeah.
We'd like to get to know you a little bit first about your background, and I read in your Firebright book a little bit about your upbringing, and it seems like you are just having a fascinating life overall. So
You could say that. It's been a roller coaster, that's for sure.
Indeed.
But I wouldn't recommend being raised by an alcoholic.
I have some distant family background who has experience with that.
I think a lot of people do.
I was fascinated to read in that you had some strict upbringing. Was it on your mother's side?
Uh-huh.
She had very distinct notions about, I guess, propriety and modesty and where you can and can't go and do.
Yes, but once I was 16, she started picking out boys for me, and when I wouldn't have sex with them, she screamed at me that I must be a lesbian. And I don't see the difference it would make if I were. It's ridiculous. But
so you managed to get out of that situation, or?
Yeah, I got out. I had two plans. One was to join the Navy, and the other was to attend the University of Idaho, which would put me quite a ways away from Southern California. But then I met Phil, and everything changed.
So,
But Mom was really strange, and the problem is almost every boy she picked out for me was gay. Of course, I wasn't having sex with them.
So, I mean, I guess this would be the late 60s. So, I guess the 60s culture during that time would be that, I guess, love, peace, and not make war. So you were kind of I guess, more reserved because of the upbringing and your thought process at that time?
Well, also, I wanted to go to college, so there was no way I was going to take a chance on getting pregnant. And even then, living in sin was just frowned upon, something awful. So what did I do? I lived in sin.
Well, we did too.
Yeah, for a while. But, you start off one way, and then you end up in a relationship. So how did that happen with Philip?
Well, we were definitely thrown together for that purpose, but I'm not sure of the motivation. It might simply have been that his former girlfriend wanted him to stop being so depressed because she had dumped him. Or it might have been something a little darker than that. I just don't know. I don't have enough information.
But you did meet him at a party, I think you said in your...
Yeah. And there was only one person there that we both knew. Neither of us knew anyone else, and that was his former girlfriend who had driven me there and then got too drunk to drive me home.
So that gave him an opportunity to take you home, or?
Well, he had been driven by Tim Powers, so Tim Powers drove us both, and Phil invited me to his apartment, and I said yes, and never left.
So
he would tell his friends that I had left him, but the fact is he moved out.
So was there a chemistry there when you first, got to meet him? And tell us a little bit about that. I mean, what was it that
kept you there?
What was it that grabbed your imagination and like, wow, I really dig this guy?
Well, at first he was like a little lost puppy dog. But when he started talking about some of his experiences, I realized that he was my intellectual equal, and we could have real conversations that didn't involve makeup or laundry detergent. There's a reason why I had few friends. I shouldn't say no friends. I had a couple good friends, while I was growing up. But not a lot.
Now, were you already writing before you met Philip on your own?
Oh, yeah, I published my first article when I was still in high school. And it was about photography, and I sold it to a Sunday school magazine. But when I finally got a copy of the published article, I didn't recognize a single word of it. And they published one of my photographs as an example of a bad photo.
Oh, no.
One that I thought was artistic. Anyway, a friend of mine in high school had contributed a photo that they used as an example of a good photo. So, let's see, they paid me $29, so I gave her $9 for her photo.
Well, that was actually pretty good for, I guess, back then. Wouldn't you say? I mean,
let's see,
for your first article?
1969.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Let's see. Our house payment would have been $125, so it's about more than a fifth of the house payment.
Nice.
I can only dream of having a payment like that.
Well, it was my parents' house. Their first house cost $10,000, and today it's probably worth $500,000.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you go from your first article there, and so when you get together with Philip, how did your writing change, or did it expand, or I mean,
did it affect it?
How did it affect it? Yes.
Well, I knew almost nothing about science fiction, and he got me to start writing it. I had this little fantasy story, which still hasn't been published, about an elderly gentleman in a nursing home who believes that the doctor is planning to kill him and eat him. And so gave it a science fiction twist, making the doctor a space alien with all kinds of technology.
Do you have a name for this manuscript?
I don't know where it is, but I have it pretty well memorized.
Mm-hmm.
And, the point of it was that my grandmother had been hallucinating when she was in short-term care for a broken hip. And I thought there should have been more sympathy for her. There wasn't much. They just were, even my family were just tired of dealing with this crazy old lady.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that.
Well, I noticed that kind of jives with the theme of Philip's work, where he thinks empathy could solve, a lot of the problems, especially oppressing, tyranny and things like that. So if we had more empathy, and that's a great sentiment, it would really, if we could empathize with each other's situations, that would solve a lot of issues. But I think we're just becoming more disconnected in a way.
Yeah. We have a local lady here in the mountains who's sometimes gets really drunk and starts shouting and picking fights. And after I'd known her for a couple of years, I finally figured out that if she'd be in the middle of the street arguing with total strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Went out there and gave her a hug. Everything was fine, and she settled down. I don't particularly like her, but she is a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could surely relate to that. I mean, in the sense that it's so easy to just automatically hate somebody, and it's if we just take a moment to, I mean, I like hearing what you just said. You hugged her, and it disarmed her, and I guess I'm saying maybe a hug for everyone once in a while might be a good thing for everyone.
It might be. I learned a lot from Phil. He helped me to break out of the cycle of anger and resentment that I was in because of my situation at home, primarily with Mom.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have Phil didn't believe the things I told him about her until he met her. And then he said, you haven't been exaggerating, you've been understating it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in a way, Philip freed you from that situation. And I have to admit to you, I've had family members that were not able to handle their liquor, and been in situations where it's quite troubling, and so I can kind of relate to you on this issue.
Oh yeah. She eventually reached the point where she didn't get drunk anymore, but she had to have alcohol available as soon as she woke up in the morning, just so she could function.
Wow.
And, being her child and having had an older brother who drank himself to death, I'm really careful of where any kind of substance is concerned.
Do you feel like you had to be the adult in that situation?
Well, I didn't realize it until I was in my 30s. And I was driving her home. I forget why she didn't have her car. But anyway, I was getting off the freeway at the ramp that I preferred, and she threw a fit and insisted that I go another mile to the next off-ramp. Even though it was a farther distance, I'd be on the freeway longer. So I I started to argue, and then I thought, well, one of us has to be the adult, and it isn't going to be her. So I went to the next off-ramp. And it was that sort of thing that clued me in, that she was just wanted her way, whether it made sense or not.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiled child.
Yeah. Well, switch gears a little bit here. Something I wonder what your opinion is on, given that there was a time in your book that you said Philip had a dim, kind of negative view of technology, and he thinks it'll take over our lives. And here we are living in a world where we do have technology for our convenience, but he thought, eventually it won't be for our convenience. And then you've got self-publishing you can do now through Amazon and Kindle using that technology, and now we have e-readers alongside paperback and hardback. What do you think his view is, and what is your view of the whole self-publishing with an e-reader process?
Well, I'm a self-publisher, but I decided not to do any more Kindle books because it's too easy for wannabe hackers to pirate them.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 cents a copy is better than 0 cents.
Yeah.
I'm always telling Sirlana that anything better more than 0 is good.
They seem to think that writers have an easy life, but I have bills to pay. And at the moment, I'm reduced to begging people for donations. My royalties last month were $4.07.
Mm.
Yeah, this month they're doing a little better. Then I sold some signed copies on eBay, which helps.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is my work. It isn't all play.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment I'm working on my second book about Phil, which will be paperback only, no Kindle. I did put out an excerpt on a Kindle edition, and people complained that it was too short, so I took it down.
Well, we've definitely seen some articles out on, I guess, Kindle that have been extremely short for a book to be. And I'm actually kind of excited because I did take an opportunity. I saw that you had, I didn't know you had your books on, some of your books on eBay, and managed to win a copy of, I guess it was The Man Without a Past. And so I'm excited to get that, yeah.
Yeah, well, if I had copies of the revised version, which is about 6,000 words longer, I'd send you that, but I'm totally out of them.
Well, I'm just happy. I'm just happy to get this. That I'm,
I'm happy you're going to read something.
Oh yeah. Well, that goes back to my senior year in high school when I was trying to write for Alfred Hitchcock magazine. Murder mysteries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely like a good murder mystery.
Me too. I just finished watching all that Netflix has on Shetland.
Mm-hmm.
I ran out of Sherlock and Midsummer Murders and Dr. Blake Mysteries and a few others. I don't want to watch the slasher.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a slasher guy myself. I know exactly what you're
talking
about. You
like the intellectual puzzles, I guess.
The intellectual, exactly, Sirlana, is that intellectual, the intellectual bad guy, and then, of course, his equal, which is exactly like Sherlock,
Yeah, well, the British murder mysteries have plenty of blood and gore, but that isn't the point.
Right.
The point is the clues. And some of Agatha Christie's stuff is pretty gnarly.
Mm-hmm.
I like her, though. She's got some humor in her stuff that I enjoy.
But I mean, that's I like that storyline, though. But you know, I'm not the slasher serial killer. Well, I did like Dexter, but we like to forget the last season. But
I gave up on that show.
But I do like the fact of being able to read along and try to solve the mystery as it's going down, and you get clues, and so that appeals to me on a more intellectual level than a primal level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was my problem with Bladerunner. Although, I got to admit, when they brought in the script doctor, David Peoples, it really made the story work, but most of it was special effects and violence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, car chases, shootouts, and worse.
I believe I thought I heard you mention that, you know, Blade Runner was not one of your favorites. What is one of your favorites from Phil?
Well, there's low budget but high quality. I'm getting an echo, sorry. Low budget, high quality film of radio-free album. It's still available online. You can get a DVD, and there's a book too.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one. It isn't, you know, the special effects are good considering the budget they had.
Mm-hmm.
It actually tells the story that Phil wanted to tell. And it works. It's entertaining. In fact, they screened it. They did a special screening at the Philip K. Dick Festival in Fort Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, buried. They have a little theater there. It's a real theater, but not a widescreen. And they showed it in that theater. So we had, you know, the experience of a good-sized audience, popcorn and candy and soda. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I just
and
found
I had
radiofreealbum.com. Is that that would be the same production?
Probably.
Mm.
I can check that.
It says it has Alanis Morissette in it.
Yeah, I think I recall seeing a preview a while back. So, yeah, Alanis Morissette.
I'll have to watch this.
Yeah. Alanis Morissette, she does sing in it. Yeah, radiofreealbumlist.com. They have all kinds of stuff on their website. It really is a good movie. You just won't get a lot of explosions and stuff.
So
it does begin with a cat being run over, but I want to reassure people that what they see in that opening scene is really a teddy bear, not a cat.
Leave it the special effects, right?
Right. Well, there are some graphics. You know, there's a Valis satellite in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
And that was done with graphic special effect artists. I should avoid S's. I'm not wearing my teeth. I forgot to put them on. It's been so hot.
Yeah.
That I've just been uncomfortable every which way. And we just got some relief. It tried to rain but didn't manage it, but it lowered the temperature to 80 instead of 95. And I don't have air conditioning because, we don't need it here.
Oh yeah,
It doesn't get that hot.
So you're up in the mountains, I guess?
Yeah, I'm near Lake Arrowhead, but on the poor side of town.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I guess I glanced over an article that they got up to 115 out in Arizona, I guess Phoenix. Smoldering heat out there.
Out in Palm Springs, it was over 120.
Wow.
See, it rains here in Houston, Texas, but when it rains, it's just hot water.
Yeah,
it doesn't really cool anything down.
We got a little bit of that today. I went out because it was sprinkling, and it was hot water, so I went back in.
Mm-hmm.
Now the clouds have moved up north, but they broke up the high pressure, so it's cooler. We get this, I should have known, California has a cycle of drought and rain, of heat and cold.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be a 7-year cycle, but now it's more like 10 or 11 years.
Well, the joke here is very similar that, give it 30 minutes, the weather will change. 1 minute it's raining, next minute it's hot, the next minute it's cold. It's all sorts of different temperatures. Hey, Tessa, we're at the top of the hour, so let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll be talking more with tessa-b-dick. And my name is Spaceboy, and that is Sirlana, so don't change that dial.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
And we're back. We're still speaking with tessa-b-dick, and I wanted to ask you, because I did read the book Fire Bright and the Edge of, reality? One of the things you say in there is your husband did question reality, and what I read of your accounts of the things that happened to you together, some of the high strangeness, I would be questioning reality too if I was in your position, and that also seems to be a common theme, or since, movies like The Matrix came out, like, are we living in a simulation or a hologram? And you said you and Phil lived in the same reality as the rest of us, but also in an ethereal one. So does any of that still happen to you today, or is that just a pocket of time when you were with him that odd things happened?
Oh, for me and for him, it was a lifelong trail of experiences. Both before and after I met him, we both had strange things happen. And the book you've read is actually some excerpts from two books, one about Phil and one about me. There's Philip K. Dick, Remembering Fire Bright, and Tessa-b-Dick, My Life on the Edge of Reality. So that's sort of an introduction, so that if you liked that little book, you might be interested in one or both of the other two. Basically, I grew up in a household where paranormal phenomena were taken for granted.
Really?
Did they not believe,
Yeah.
or they just thought it was a whimsical imagination?
Well, Mom in particular just took it for granted that it was real and that we could do it. We could use clairvoyance or ESP. In fact, she often punished us, for kids, for failing to do something that she had only thought at us to do.
She didn't speak it aloud.
Right. Of course, she was the kind of sociopath who, if you hadn't broken any rules, she'd make up a new one that you'd already broken. And my two brothers had it worse than I ever did, so I don't complain a whole lot. But it wasn't fun. Anyway, we used to play a parlor game, which was Mom would write down 3 names on slips of paper and show them to everyone, and then one of us would leave the room, and those who remained would pick one of those 3 names to focus on, and then come back when we could say which name it was. Well, my brother Steve was wrong every time. And statistically, he should have gotten 1 in 3 correct. And we did this many, many times on rainy evenings. Television wasn't what it is now. Anyway, we'd play parlor games. Well, I got it right every time. And I showed the game to a friend from school, and she actually tried to cheat because she couldn't believe I was getting it right every time. She told me I was wrong, and I pried the slip of paper out of her hand to prove that I was right.
So that was sort of like your first experiences with, maybe, you said this sort of etheric realm, but when you later on as you got older, did it change, or was it more different kind of things happening, or?
I really don't like to do it. I think you enter a realm where there are little beasties that you don't want to meet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd been taught to do this. And because about 15 students at my elementary school were chosen for a government-sponsored study, I used to think I might have imagined the whole thing till my older brother confirmed it. There were these graduate students from UCLA who were supposedly studying the relationship between leadership and self-esteem. But I think it taught me to remote view. And this would have been like 1961, before we had the term remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I remembered things, and without a whole lot of prompting, I just asked my brother if there had been any special assemblies at our school. And he said, oh yeah, these graduate students and so on and so forth. And they used a number of psychological tests, including the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, the MMPI, the famous crazy test. Well, that would explain why I took it to help a student when I was in college. He was a psychology major and needed to write a research paper. Well, all the questions looked so familiar. I was sure I'd done this before. And it must have been for that study when I was 7 years old.
So, in that process, do you feel that? I mean, was there any kind of apprehensiveness in, like, opening Pandora's box, if you will, and into the unknown?
Oh, definitely. And our house was haunted anyway, but I wouldn't have been nearly as frightened if Mom had simply told me that we had roof rats. She was afraid I'd be scared of the rats, so instead I imagined that Frankenstein's monster was lurking inside the walls.
Well, yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, really. But she was good at that sort of thing. Not telling the truth because it might frighten you. Well, I guess it frightened her. And she was projecting her fear onto us. Paranoid people tend to be frightened. At this point in my life, I just feel sorry for her.
Mm-hmm.
She died years ago. She was only 58. And we think it was suicide, but the coroner couldn't figure out why her heart stopped. It just did. But she had been researching poisons.
Oh, my.
She probably found one that the coroner wouldn't look for, so that her life insurance would pay. Like we cared. It was almost enough to bury her.
So what other experiences have you had in your lifetime, Tessa, beyond the being a clairvoyant and being able to remotely see beyond what you can see? And I mean, what other things have touched your life in that kind of sense?
Lots of things. I used to get attacked. You might call it sleep paralysis, but I definitely had the sense of something jumping on me. I could feel it landing. and it would lift me up and drop me, and this would happen in my sleep, of course, but it wasn't asleep. I was just unable to move. Either it woke me up or I wasn't quite asleep yet. And in the morning, my back would ache from having been dropped. Sometimes I had bruises, like on my belly where it landed. And eventually I was able to see some kind of form. But the only way I ever put an end to it permanently was to call on Jesus Christ. And I didn't believe until I did that. I believed in God, and I would call on God and get temporary relief. But the last time it happened, here I was, not a believer, but I just called on Jesus Christ, and that thing, that one was shaped like a man, but it looked like a black nylon stocking filled with air. No real...
Kind of like a shadow person?
I would say yes. But it wasn't a shadow, it was three-dimensional. Anyway, it slunk away in pain and fear and melted into the wall and never came back. And what a way to get faith. I'd been baptized mainly to make Phil happy because he was afraid for my soul. But I always had doubts, and even now I have some doubts, but not as strong as what I had then.
So I guess it was a belief changer in a way.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they say in the South, the literal coming to Jesus moment.
I guess so. I'd been baptized in a Southern Baptist church, the kind where they hold you under if you struggle. They got to get all that sin out of you.
I can relate.
It was an experience, too, but this was really something.
So I noticed that you wrote that Phil studied a lot of different philosophies in religion, like Gnosticism and Taoism. Maybe that was his way to try to make sense of reality, but did you, when he was doing that, did you ever get into studying any of that, or did you say like you already had your belief in God and that was enough for you?
Well, I didn't get into it too deeply, but he did teach me to meditate, and I just focused on my breathing and suddenly found myself hurtling through interstellar space and watching, I guess, God, something in the shape of a man, moving stars around, lighting some up, and, making new ones. And then when I got up, I sat up and reached for my pack of cigarettes. I suddenly had, now I was too young for hot flashes, but I can tell you it was like a major hot flash. I thought the apartment was on fire, so I ran out to the living room and then realized that it was very cold because the heater wasn't on and it was winter. I don't know. I didn't get any deep meaning out of it, but it was really entertaining and strange. But it still got me reading. I'd been reading the New Testament. I was interested in learning the Greek, but he got me really reading all sorts of things, like The Morning of the Magicians. I think that's Powell's and Bergier. It unfortunately doesn't have footnotes, but it's a study of the occult history, especially regarding Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Phil was constantly trying to write the sequel to The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, that's currently on Amazon right now. I had an opportunity to get through that first season. It was really awesome.
Well, I watched the first episode, but I couldn't watch the second because it's so brutal. It is very good, but I just can't watch it. And that's why Phil couldn't write the sequel. In his mind, the Nazis were too brutal. And he simply didn't know how brutal the Japanese had been.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
So
he considers...
Was that brutality that something Phil just it just brought fear to him when it dealt with the Nazis?
Well, not so much fear as loathing.
Mm-hmm.
To his mind, a Nazi was like not human. In fact, it was his studies of them for this sequel that led him to conclude that some people were no different from the androids in Bladerunner. He didn't call them replicants. That was Ridley Scott. He called them androids. And basically they would be organic, so in that sense human, but all their memories were false. And sometimes Phil believed that his own memories were false.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit. I guess Phil, did he feel like he felt like this reality that we're in is a false reality, or kind of a matrix, if you will?
I think on one level he hoped that it wasn't real because it seemed so awful.
Yes.
This was when Richard Nixon was president, so of course we had Watergate. And he knew a lot more than I did about Nixon's history in the Senate. He actually won his first Senate seat by pointing out that his opponent was Jewish. And this was not long after everybody learned about the Holocaust. But it seemed that enough voters didn't care about the Holocaust that they were more afraid of having a Jew in the Senate than they were of having a Nazi.
Well, I'm not surprised in the sense that after the war you had quite a few prominent card-carrying Nazis that were brought over here under Project Paperclip, and I believe that Phil felt like there was this feeling of Germany, but reappearing itself here in America. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Not necessarily Germany, but Nazis for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The way I see it, and it's probably close enough to the way Phil saw it, the Nazis gave up on Germany because Germany lost the war. So they decided to take over here where we have vast natural resources and a lot more people to do their work for them. You do know, I'm sure, that Werner von Braun, who kind of nursemaided NASA
Yes.
during our moon missions was a Nazi. Truman actually ordered that no real Nazis be brought over here under paperclip, but he was ignored.
Mm-hmm. He was.
Their records were just kind of cleaned up, so they didn't appear to be Nazis. But are you aware that Kurt Davis, another nice Nazi, was the flight director at Cape Canaveral?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't even a rocket scientist. I learned this by watching YouTube videos, or, well, really listening. They aren't real videos, of an author named Joseph Farrell.
Yeah.
Farrell. Got a lot of info from him, and some of it I knew but had forgotten, but a lot of it is new to me. Kurt Davis was an electrical engineer who specialized in plasmas, and there he was, senior flight director at Cape Canaveral. And a Nazi.
So what does that say about us currently, though, as a society? Do you think that it's changed the United States fundamentally with with the beginning of all this?
Well, it is definitely a takeover, and the problem is that so many Americans were sympathetic to the Nazis, like Henry Ford and the Dulles brothers, Allen Dulles, head of the CIA, who just hired a bunch of Nazis to spy on the Soviet Union. Yeah. And his brother, John Foster Dulles, was something big in the State Department or something like that. And we talk about nepotism among the Kennedys because John Kennedy hired his brother Bobby. Yeah, well, I guess they couldn't kill a third Kennedy, so Ted just got Chappaquiddick.
Oh, yes. That's something you mentioned in this publication, that you had been visited by some beings that said they were time travelers, and they had actually gone back in time to try to stop both of the Kennedys from being assassinated, but it led to chaos either way. Or like for JFK, no matter what they did, he still got assassinated. And when Bobby became president, it led to a Soviet Union conflict with a nuclear war. I thought that was really interesting that even if somebody tried to interfere, it still went down the wrong path.
Right. Well, regarding JFK and his assassination on national television in broad daylight, the problem was that there were so many factions out to get him that if one didn't succeed, the other would. And they might fail in Dallas as they did in Florida, and I think the other one was Chicago. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure, but two failed attempts. So if they failed in Dallas, there would be a fourth attempt. And it might not be the same people. I'm considering writing a novel called The Oswald Identity. Kind of like the Bourne Identity. Because there are so many Oswalds who couldn't possibly be Oswald, including the body in the casket. When they buried him, his mother looked inside the casket and said, "That is not my son." And then she shut up.
I recall seeing, an episode of In Search of back in the 70s, and the mother saying that it did not look like her son at all.
Yeah. Well, the one who went to the Mexican embassy to try to get to Cuba didn't look anything like the one who got shot in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd read that they had recruited him originally from, what was he doing? He was doing something in Russia, and to bring him over to be the guy that's going to assassinate JFK.
Oh, the real or original Oswald was recruited while he was still in high school to join the military. I think he was a Marine.
Yes.
But whoever went to Russia spoke Russian so well that his wife, when she met him, thought he was a Russian.
That's what I remember reading.
Yeah, they tried to tell us that Oswald was a poor student and not very bright. Well, excuse me, I've tried to learn Russian. I can't do it, and I'm good at languages. It's difficult.
It's a very hardy language, robust.
Well, it's worse than French,
Oh.
and a lot of it is French. Well, I have a degree in German. German was easy. It's like speaking English with an accent.
Mm-hmm. I think you should do that publication before somebody takes your ideas.
Well, I have other things to write, and it wouldn't be a written book. You can't copyright a title, so someone could put something out with that title, but it wouldn't be the same book. Phil always wanted to write a thriller.
I like the idea of that, where they just keep recruiting new guys under that same alias to do the same job.
I haven't read The Bourne Identity, but I did see the movie on DVD, and it's just an identity. It isn't the guy's real name, but since he has amnesia because he's been nearly killed, he uses that identity and tries to track down whoever tried to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And there are sequels, but I'm not terribly familiar with them.
They're more action-packed, but it is pretty good, decent movie to watch. So Tessa, we're at the bottom of the hour. Can we hold you over and while we take this break, and then kind of like I guess have some final moments with you and make sure people know where to find you on the internet? Can you hold on?
Sure.
All
Time
right.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it does.
You know, Tessa, you'd be surprised how many guests say that to us. It's like, man, we're all over. I mean, I felt like I just got here. So hold on. Let's take this break. I'm Spaceboy. That's Solana, and you're listening to the SBU Network. This is Spaceboy Universe.
Body Machino.
Чи за недели вы собираетесь к Трампу?
Hello?
Machino.
All right. So that was Crash, of course, by myself, Space Boy. If you want to get that particular song or any other songs, you can cruise on over to spaceboymusic.com, where all the music is there to purchase. In fact, the latest album is Unique Technique, and you can get it for a cool $10. So back to our guests, shall we? So
Yes, we're still here with Tessa-b-Dick, and we're having a great time with her. And I just wanted to put something in. As a former English major myself, get literary geek on you here, you were writing about the different literary influences that Philip had. I was wondering about your own literary influences, and then you once said that one of them for him was Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft. I was wondering, do you or he have that same sense of cosmic nihilism that Lovecraft had, like the cosmos doesn't care about you?
I think Phil did. I don't particularly, and I've never read Lovecraft. I've only read about Lovecraft, and I'd never heard of him when I met Phil.
I hadn't heard of him either until I took a course, and he came up in this as a course in American Gothic literature. And that's where I first heard about him.
We did watch a special, a television special based on one of Lovecraft's stories, where a Cthulhu comes out of the sea to have his way with a woman.
Yeah. But he's got a lot of influences out there with other modern writers. So I just wondered, but
yeah, well, Phil was widely read, and I guess I am now. I wasn't then. I focused on nonfiction. Blackie's helping.
I just noticed that, and our cat came in and meowed right after your cat did it.
I expected Inky, but I got Blackie, her sister.
Muffin just came in and then meowed and walked out.
Well, I admit to 4 cats because number 5 is feral, but she does eat here.
Well, cats are in the great tradition of late night talk radio, so we're just carrying on that tradition.
Well, they're all fixed, so there won't be any more. I never go and get a cat. They just show up, or someone brings them.
Yeah, when I first met Sorlana, she had left. She would leave her door open to the patio, and she had this one cat that would roam in every once in a while.
An apartment neighborhood cat.
Yeah, I have to be careful about leaving the door open because there's a raccoon that likes cat food.
Oh no, they're getting very bold.
Well, if you feed them, they'll have lots of babies and bring them over to eat your cat food.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's been my friend's experience who lives, in a more wooded area, because she's got horses and cats and a dog. That's their...
Yeah, I'm not directly in the forest, but I'm close to it. And they were here first, but we don't need to be feeding them.
Right.
I do leave out a bucket of water, but that's my limit.
Now, we have all those neighborhood critters as well. But we're in Houston, we don't have any zoning laws here. So if you want to, keep chickens in your backyard, there's nothing to stop you. So our neighborhood has roosters, chickens, guinea fowl, turkeys, all running around. Uh-oh, what's going on over there?
I don't know. Something's going...
Something is playing on someone's computer. Sorry about that. A little technical glitch, but...
we hope you're doing okay, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave Scott over there.
Hear it. I didn't hear it.
Oh, good. Something accidentally played in the background there. We didn't mean for that. But just to get back on topic here, another aspect that struck me about your publication I read is that I don't know if it was you and Phil, but he definitely had some kind of notion of a secret organization. I don't know if you would call this the Illuminati or not, but I also kind of agree with that notion that there are people or someone behind the scenes, maybe even our government, who are really running things. And in one of the previous breaks, you mentioned about some of these organizations that are trying to merge together to become one super evil kind of corporation. I was going to ask you about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, one of Phil's favorite villains was a corporation called IG Farben, a German-based conglomerate with international ties, subsidiaries all over the place. They made the gas for the gas chambers in the Holocaust. And I don't want to argue about how many people were killed and how many were Jews. They killed anybody they considered an enemy. Masons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Gypsies, the disabled, whether mentally or physically. Mm-hmm. They killed all their enemies. And if they could, they'd work them to death. They needed the labor force. Anyway, IG Farben was so huge that it wasn't completely dissolved until 2003. And one of their biggest subsidiaries was Bayer, the makers of aspirin, the company that wants to merge with Monsanto so they can make more and better poison. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure Phil would be horrified by GMO foods.
Genetically modified, yeah.
And the genetic engineering that's going on, for example, growing human organs in pig embryos.
Yes.
Oh, I think I was just reading that they recently... what was it?
They're transplanting
hybrid.
Human
/ animal hybrids.
They've lifted some kind of ban or something on making human-animal hybrids. I don't know if it's here or where it was, but I read that and I was just like spine-tingling, terrifying to me.
Yeah, well, it's scary. I suppose it's better than having organs taken from prisoners in China, which goes on quite a bit, and probably in other countries too. Mm-hmm. But we hear about is China.
And also the developments that are coming up with artificial intelligence and the idea that we're going to reach the singularity in this certain year that's, it's in the future, but they're saying it may even happen sooner, where the AI will surpass us in intelligence and intuitiveness. That also kind of bothers me a bit, too.
Well, I suppose that depends upon what you, or how you define intelligence. Sure, a computer can beat a chess master. But can it hug you? Oh, dear. I guess some of these robots they've made in Japan can hug you.
Yes, and they are simulating human emotions. But it's a simulation. I don't think they're feeling them randomly on their own.
But my question would be on that, and I'd love to hear what you have to say on this, Tessa, is that... when a child is born, aren't we basically programming it and teaching it certain skills? Is that any less different than the future of AI? Is that a computer is born and we teach it certain skills and then have it learn?
Well, I suppose the major difference would be that the child already has programming. We're born with certain instincts and even thoughts and emotions that I suppose, can be manipulated, but they can't be totally erased. And I've come to the belief that our DNA makes every cell in our body more than a computer program. Every cell that has DNA, to my mind, contains the memories of all our ancestors, as well as our own memories. The nature versus nurture controversy has to be considered. How much are we born with and how much is taught to us? But a machine is a tabula rasa, a clean slate. It hasn't started with a program.
Like we are born with something, you're saying, and it isn't.
Yeah, I would call it the soul.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the episode titled "The Measure of a Man," where they have a court meeting on whether or not Data, the android, has rights like other species on the planet. Like he's a free being, not just a machine that belongs to Starfleet. And that came down like we're asking. It's like basically the question was whether or not Data had a soul. And so that's the basic argument I think that's going to separate us from machines is whether, sure, maybe they can do independent things and they can run programs on their own, but are they ever going to have the soul that makes them what we are?
Wow. Well, I haven't seen that episode,
it's
but I'd
very
have to
good.
Say that, I'd have to say that Data has rights.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another story. The basic thing for me is I want my machines to look like machines. I don't want them simulating humanity. I don't even want a robot dog unless it looks like a robot dog.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to appear to be real when it isn't. It just seems to me that we're blurring the lines between the organic and the silicon chip. And as far as that goes, I do draw an analogy. I think our brain is like the CPU, the central processing unit. It directs the traffic, but it doesn't originate anything.
Mm-hmm.
It simply passes on instructions from the software to the hardware. But we don't know what the software is. Or at least scientists don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting, because we had about 2 shows ago, we talked about transhumanism. And of course, that show was interesting because my husband and I nearly got in a fist fight about it because we had differing opinions. But
it's a very passionate subject matter.
Yeah, whether or not you want technology integrated with your body and how far is it going to go and at what point does it take over and you're no longer human. And once again, we keep going back to Star Trek because Star Trek has covered all these topics because you have the Borg, who are mostly machine but somewhat organic. But that's my personal worry and fear about AI and machines that we're developing. And like you say, robots with human features or realistic dogs, things like that. I too find that to be disturbing on some level that's visceral to me.
Yeah. I think that even now with the technology we have, a robot dog could be made to appear to be a real dog until it was hit by a car and all the springs and sprockets popped out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose they could even fit it with fake blood and muscles, but it would still be a robot. And it would still rip your heart out to see it smash, but it wouldn't be the same thing.
Well, I'm sure that if you're investing in something like that emotionally, there's going to be some part of you that's going to feel sad because you've made a connection to something like that. I guess as technology progresses and AI becomes more advanced, it's an inevitability that that AI will fake us into a position of believing that it's actually sentient in a way.
I guess you can become attached to objects like dolls and teddy bears, or even your cell phone. I often cuss out my computer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But, I'm so glad it doesn't cuss back at me. It probably knows more cuss words than I do. But if that's intelligence, then it's smarter than I am. But if it's so much faster than I am, how come it makes me wait and wait for a website to load?
Yeah, we've had that issue today ourselves.
Yeah, definitely been there and done that today.
And boy, it hates Facebook. Every once in a while, it just shuts itself off. I think it's the ads.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I have ad blocker on all my browsers that will take it.
Mm-hmm.
It works great.
Well, I can't play the games if I block the ads.
Yeah, I've got some sites like that too. And there's new sites I go to like, well, we understand why you're using this ad blocker, but blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I guess I don't need this information that badly. And I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, right. But I'm addicted to Scrabble.
Oh, dear. So am I.
Oh, my goodness. You found your soulmate.
Well, she was an English literature major too, so she probably likes wordplay as well. It's the one thing I'm good at, and I'm like, let me have this one thing. You have all this other talent and abilities, and especially winning games. All I have is Scrabble.
I rave and rant at the blank walls when I'm listening to the radio. I don't have TV.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are certain mistakes that I just cannot stand. For one thing, when you're on radio and no one can see your face, you better pronounce the words a little more carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they say traffic, I can't say that word on the air, but it's traffic.
Mm-hmm.
The way they pronounce it, because they're just not careful. Not every vowel in the English language sounds like
Yes.
They always.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, they always have to continue on. Has anybody ever continued off?
And I like the new words people make up, which have never been words, but I guess if people say it enough, type it enough, put it out there enough, like on the internet, it will just get adopted. Like, I'm trying to think, what's that one you keep saying over there? It just drives me up the wall.
Oh, I know I say...
Oh, gosh, I can't stand it.
It's the funnest on purpose, because I know it just
drives
you up.
This one is another word you say. You put an extra syllable in there that doesn't belong.
I don't know what it could be right now.
And when he does it, I shouldn't want to smack you. It shouldn't be that an extreme reaction in me.
But the reality is, I do it on purpose to, just see.
He does things on purpose.
Yeah, just to get a rise out of you.
Get a rise, yeah. I hate preventative.
Yes.
Do you preventate?
It's something like that he says. It's a very common word. Orientated, that's what it is. He says,
oh, yeah.
Orientated.
Now they say orientate, and I guess Orient is not politically correct, but it's just all it means is east.
Mm-hmm.
When you orient yourself, you find out where the east is.
So if you go to an orientation, you should be finding out the eastern direction, but yet they have all these other things they want to tell you. Yeah, that bugs me. And when we play Scrabble, I used to play Scrabble online against another person in the late 90s, and she and I played for years, and she would wipe the board with me. So I really started paying attention to the things she did.
Well, actually, your thing goes back to when you would with Dad.
Yeah, my dad is still the only one. If we were to play Scrabble, he would be sitting there with an X, a Q, and a Z, and just wipe me away with it. But she would. I've learned how to play where if you're not winning, if you're falling behind in the score, you can play to block, play to irritate by using all the legal 2-letter words and putting them in places to mess people up.
Keep them to the triple word squares.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and getting a bingo. He hates that.
End of the line. Can I promote my blog?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I was getting ready to wrap the Scrabble talk up, and why don't you go ahead and plug all your social media and your blog and all that good stuff, Tessa?
It's all my name. The blog is tessa-b-dick.com. On Facebook, I haven't reached the maximum 5,000 friends yet, so I'm Tessa Dick, and I have a couple groups on there, but you can find them if you find my page. And on Amazon, you really have to search for my books because I don't pay them to put me at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you just search my name, you'll get a bunch of books that mention me. So try to add Philip K. Dick or add My Life on the Edge of Reality or Remembering Fire Bright. And find my author page. All my books are listed there, and they are not all memoirs or science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
You just take a look at what I've written. It's quite a variety.
Now, also, since at the beginning of the program I mentioned that I won a copy of one of your books off of eBay. Is there just do the same search off of eBay for periodic? I guess whenever you post things onto eBay.
Yeah. I'm Busby 777 because I was born a Busby. And once a Busby, always a Busby.
Well, Tessa, we are so happy that you spent some time with us here at Spaceboy Universe, and we're going to keep an eye out for you. And if you've ever got anything new to shout out to us, we hope that you would, let us know so that we can let our audience know.
Well, just watch my Facebook page.
Okay, will do. I got that information posted in our chat so we can follow you.
Well, Tessa,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming by. And as we tell everybody, don't be a stranger. And we've enjoyed having you on the show.
I've enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so there you go. There's Tessa. We're going to take our break here, and so everybody don't go anywhere. As I cue up the music here, click that. We'll be right back.
Oops.
We're back. Were you stuffing your mouth over there?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I had some Reese's Crunchers that we picked up at the old Walmart.
And I have M&M peanut butter.
I have to say that these are quite tasty, but they're kind of they're like the oatmeal chocolate things, but
the no bake cookies.
But I tell you, the next time I go to the store, I want to get the M&Ms that are the strawberry. Or is it strawberry? Yeah,
strawberry with the nuts and
strawberry nuts, and good stuff. Let's see here.
Dino paid you a compliment.
Let's see, Space Boy. Yeah, thank you, Dino. It's always nice to get feedback from you. And of course, earlier I played K28's song,
Harmonic Caverns.
Yeah.
That's a really pretty one. That's
yeah.
very nice. So we're back, and we had a nice chat with Tessa right before this break ended. And so she's going to get some of her media to us so we can help kind of promote, the stuff she's doing. And our friend requested her on Facebook, and so we'll be able to keep up to date on what's going on with her, and we'll share that.
Yeah, she also mentioned that Dennis reached out to her too, so that's always good too.
Mm-hmm.
But quite an interesting lady,
Yeah, she mentioned that Ridley Scott changed the androids to replicants, and she says the term was android because was that not the original title that they borrowed it from? Do androids dream of electric sheep?
Mm-hmm.
And then it became Bladerunner.
But I think the word replicants better serves the idea of that they're not original.
Mm-hmm.
That they're they're replicants, and so I think the wordplay there definitely takes it a little bit further.
Well, and I like the fact that we're talking about robots and androids and AI and transhumanism, and I think it all kind of comes together with. I think maybe he had sort of Philip K. Dick was trying to have a cautionary tale maybe about, the downside of machines and technology and this kind of thing. And so I wanted you and I to kind of look at what's going on now that might be, like maybe if you want to look at these movies as like a possible look at our future. But what's going on now is, it seems like, you were saying earlier, there's sort of a fight for the control of us between these new titans of industry. When you think of titans industry, I would think, the old oil barons and maybe the Henry Ford, head of Ford, Motor Company when he was around. But now you've got Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and whoever is Google. I don't think Google as a guy that's in charge of Google. I just think Google as this giant nebulous force.
Well, it's two guys that, and I can't think of their names.
Yeah, I've never known their names.
Kind of, pushed it through the rapids of the technology arena. But yeah, very similar to the captains of industry. They were the modern day people. I mean, drilling holes underneath Los Angeles. Do you think that's the kind of invasive, like they're doing this for their benefit, not really for ours? I tell you,
all the stuff that they do,
Well, I tell you, the most interesting one is Elon Musk. Is, I mean, like I said, drilling holes under Los Angeles to find a faster way of getting around traffic. Going to Mars.
When you told me that, I read that as he wants a faster way. It's the tunnel just for him, not for anybody else.
No, I think it's the Hyperloop thing that I've heard about. That he is wants to the travel. Imagine traveling from one part of New York to Los Angeles, and in record time through like a tube, and tubes that we've heard about before. When we were researching the Dulce Wars and the underground tunnels through the Southwest, and so it's interesting that wants to build that for commercial use. Now, that man, is fascinating, let alone, but I've often said that and I don't mean this in any disrespect, but he doesn't look human. He it's like the conversation.
No disrespect, but you're not human.
Well, it's like when we talk about Cumberbatch. I mean, when you look at him.
Well, that's just his looks. That's not anything he's
got
doing.
A good look. Now, when we talk about people and you, okay, first off, you know how much I love Amazon.
Dare
right?
I post this Twitter picture?
The Amazon thing is that I love Amazon, but Bezos.
Yeah, we really do.
You slapped a Mandarin collar and put a cat in his hand. He's a Bond villain. And I mean, but but there wasn't somebody else that we were talking about that looks a lot like a Bond villain, and I can't remember who we were talking about in that.
I don't either, but there's just so many of them now. I can't keep up with them.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I guess the conversation went into. I guess we were talking about net neutrality and.
Yes. Now they're trying to fight for net neutrality. These big, we're talking like Facebook. We're talking, Google. But I feel like. I don't know, can we really trust them? I mean...
The reality is they have the money, and they want to keep the money, and so they're going to keep the money by saying what they want.
Right.
Now, the thing is, the government has, when I speak of the government, the United States government, has not really kept up with technology. And, I mean, because it just... Technology
not
is,
so much as other countries, you mean?
Well, yeah, in the sense that like this net neutrality thing, and it's so confusing. I mean,
it is. It's not obvious what we're talking about.
At the end of the day, all I want is one. Don't throttle my bandwidth when it comes to Netflix.
And don't be so intrusive.
Don't be so intrusive. I don't. I think it all comes back that what worries me, who gets the stick in the end? It's us, the consumer.
Of course.
And so, there you go.
Well, I'm reading that Google's doing some things that sound, I guess, fairly benign, but me, I'm suspicious. I'm just deeply suspicious. So one of these articles I see that says Google's AI, because they have one, They have an AI subsidiary called DeepMind, and it's going to be partnering with another UK hospital. Apparently, they've already done this in the UK with another hospital there, and what they're going to do is they have announced that they have an app called Streams. Streams app will be used by the Taunton and Somerset National Healthcare Foundation Trust, and it's going to be... it doesn't use artificial intelligence, but what it does, it sifts through the data from the patient's medical records to warn doctors and nurses about their patients' upcoming health problems. So, for instance, the Streams app will allow clinical staff to view results of x-rays, scans, or blood tests in one place at the touch of a button. And a doctor was quoted to say that the app was being used to improve early detection of seriously unwell patients to ensure a very rapid response. Now that seems good, doesn't it? I mean, you'd want faster, more accurate, immediate responses, but again, surely this is hackable. Their DeepMind's activities have been criticized, with a government data advisor warning that the company's access to patient medical data had been conducted on an inappropriate legal basis. And they said the contract with DeepMind, there's a collection of hospitals in London. They're under investigation by a UK data watchdog, the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO. So they're saying, no, we're working hard to make sure the data is being safely handled, and
I think we just live in a time when I'm in IT.
Yeah.
And so
am I in a way.
It's an inevitability that things will be hacked in one way. There's no safe way. The only safe way is not to put it on the internet, because your data is not safe. No matter what kind of encryption you put out there on whatever, at some point, the data will be leaked.
I agree, because that's what some malicious hackers live for, is just to see how much data. And your medical records don't they have a lot more than just what's wrong with you, like your full name, there's just more than just your medical records. They can I guess they could steal your identity with that if they know enough.
There is a lot on medical records that they could take over your identity, yes.
So that's my concern. Now, I'm not saying don't do this, but I'm just paranoid about, especially with the things that Facebook does. But here's another thing that Google's into everything. It's not just a search engine anymore. They're trying to get their own version of the iPhone perfected. They're trying to, here's this article I'm reading. Google's Project Sunroof will peer pressure you to getting solar panels. Although I'm on board with that if they could make them affordable.
Right. Practical and affordable.
Check to see if you're the only one on the block without solar panels. So now you can check to see if your neighbors have solar panels on their roofs. Feature Google's Project Sunroof. It's a free online tool, and it's actually been out for a couple of years. I've never heard of it. And it'll let you check whether installing solar panels could cut your energy bill. Well, duh, of course they're going to cut your energy bill. And you and I had talked about this for several years. Like, if we just had the funding, we'd love to get off the grid.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know that I want Google knowing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the point of having this app to spy on your neighbors?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because
to spy on to see whether or not they have it or not. But
I'm a little concerned because I had downloaded, looking at opportunities as I always like to do. I found this new app called Field Agent, and what this app is all about is that it tasks you if you want to do a job they give you a dollar amount to go do a job. It could be anywhere I've seen $5 to $8 for doing certain things. Part of that app, I noticed, was to go take pictures at people's houses. And I thought, and it tells you, remember, don't go into their yard, don't try to trespass. As long as you're on the road, you're fine. But I was like, okay, what do they want with this information of But there are some other ones where, here's one to go beer pricing audit. Earn $8 by going to Papa's Burgers and check out how much the price of the beer is. Well, that's not a bad idea, and they'll reimburse you for expenses, but they'll also pay you an additional $8.
You don't have to drink the beer, do you?
No, but
then I would do it.
Yeah. So, I think, getting back to the Big Brother aspect is here is an app that's sending you to a place to take pictures of somebody's house, and I don't know. I'm a little taken back by that.
Yes, I would be too. So that's one of the creepier aspects. They're also, what else is Google doing? This is I'm not trying to bash Google because goodness knows I do use it, although I have been training myself to go toward DuckDuckGo.com because it's a much more anonymous browsing experience for a search engine. But it says Google is help funding AI to write news stories, helping fund AI news writers in the UK and Ireland. So now they're going to help write news stories with the help of artificial intelligence, and it's coming out of the tech giant's Digital News Initiative Fund, which supports digital journalism in Europe. Now, so they're going to supply news stories to media outlets all over the UK and Ireland, and they're going to be working with a startup company, and they're going to try to produce 30,000 local stories a month with the help of AI. So they will still rely on human journalists, and the journalists will create story templates with details for like crime, health, unemployment, etc. But the tool will, it's called Radar, Reporters and Data and Robots. The tool will fill in the blanks and help keep the article local to the areas. And the workflow has been used by outlets for years. The Los Angeles Times is using an AI to write stories about earthquakes, and they've been doing that since 2014. And they say human journalists will still be vital to this process, but the tool Radar allows them to harness AI to scale up to a volume of local stories that would be impossible to provide manually. So news you read may not have been completely composed by a human.
My concern is
that could be good in that it couldn't, if it was done by AI, it couldn't slant it one way or another, but if humans are still involved.
But it's not even the slant left or right, it's is it real news? Or is it just producing articles?
I think it'd be real news. I mean, I don't think you think they're going to make up stuff?
Well, computers are only good in a sense that of the amount of input that's put into it.
So if there's not enough, well, my
you were just
understanding there'd be enough input.
Well, I was just getting ready to say, you're talking about how they were wanting to ramp up news to a point. I mean, how are you going to digest all that? I mean,
yeah, that's
just to be bombarded. I mean,
it's a good point.
Unless you have that implant in your brain that we talked about to
I don't
assimilate
care about
that
news
data.
that much to want to have it fed to me. I mean, that would depress you more than anything, surely, to have so much data in your mind all the time.
I'd literally have to have an AI to digest all that information so that I couldn't, to select all the data out of it that I want to see or hear, so I don't have to go through all the data. Does that make sense for you?
Yes, that's basically what I've been saying too. So, but the Facebook and Google have a lot of things they're going to do. Google really wants to have a superior AI, and I read that I think Apple's trying to get in on this too. If I read that correctly.
Well, I know Apple's working on the car situation.
Apple latest AI experiment lets software autocomplete your doodles, so you can start drawing a doodle of a cat and it'll finish it for you. Okay. What's the point of that? They even have their own virtual fidget spinner. Yay. They're launching a new line of cameras for VR. I mean, see, they're in everything. They're in every aspect of technology. They're doing some crazy experiments with some apps. And I told you back in June they've agreed to stop scanning your Gmail messages to sell to targeted ads. They're saying it's impossible for Google and Facebook to be politically neutral. They began removing personal medical records from search results. So that's one good thing they've done. But yeah, so I guess I'll quit harping on poor
Google.
Somebody's asking to phone in. They have a soapbox they want to stand on.
Solana is the bottom of the hour.
Yeah.
And so let's just take our last bottom of the hour break. When we come back, it's more of Spaceboy and Solana on a show that we like to call Spaceboy Universe. So don't go anywhere.
listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lotta.
All right, we're back. That was chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum.
Oh, thank you. I can never say it correctly.
It is. It's a tough word to spell too.
Plus, I've got a chip stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
And I realize I have no beverage over here.
Oh, that's not good. I'm still nursing the Route 44.
Well, I'm happy for you. I know I've kind of plowed through about 17 of those by now.
The famous Guerrero goat.
Anyway, I was going to say that song was recently played on an episode of
the 8-Bit Guy.
8-Bit Guy, yes.
Who we interviewed, David Murray. We still watch faithfully.
Very faithfully.
And enjoy because we're huge nerds.
Yeah, nerds.
Go to YouTube, check out the 8-Bit Guy and 8-Bit Keys.
Tell them that we sent you.
Tell them Spaceboy Universe sent you and you enjoy things. So, where were we?
You were going to talk about Microsoft and SoundCloud. And
well, let me click that particular. Hold on. I clicked the link to bring it up. Okay, Microsoft announces thousands of job cuts as it refocuses on the cloud.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if this is also a part of, remember the conversation I've had with you about Skype? Slimming down certain things that they,
Yeah, maybe it's related, you think?
Yeah, I think it might be related.
Well, they're cutting thousands of jobs as part of a reorganization process, and they're going to focus on the cloud. Now, I don't know what this layoffs have to do with that, but they're expected to impact the sales force, and then around 10% of the company's total sales staff will be let go. Okay, so it's sales. And I guess the cloud's taken over these jobs for some reason.
I guess so, because, with Office 365, there's really, it's all based on the internet. You just go online.
There's nothing really to sell.
There's nothing really to sell. It sells itself. I mean, and then, you don't have to buy Excel, you don't have to buy this, or, you just go in. Office 365 provides you an office suite, and you can get email there. And then
you're doing their job for them.
Yeah, it's basically doing everything. You can get your cloud storage.
Well, they said these cuts, there's rumors that these cuts would take place, and it's sort of traditional for Microsoft to reorganize, at certain times a year ahead of their new financial year. They said this is, of course, their PR is better serve our customers and partners. That's why they're making these changes. And they're letting these employees know that their jobs are under consideration or that their positions will be eliminated. But this is the thing about technology. It can be as flaky as other industries that it'll go on this boom and you'll get all these jobs and they'll find a way to make it more efficient where you're not needed anymore. So the cloud focus comes from as a company sees growth potential as it fights against rivals like Amazon and Google. Now, their cloud server and businesses have been fueling revenue recently with server products and cloud services revenue up 15%, and Azure revenue itself is growing by 93%. I keep seeing that people want you to know Azure as far as, looking for jobs. So they're saying this is par for the course for them to do this sort of thing, but I kind of feel for people who are caught in the middle of this type of thing. Mm-hmm. And on that same note, SoundCloud is cutting nearly 40% of its staff. Now, SoundCloud, I used to love it. I used to enjoy it because you could go there, and I guess you still can, get a lot of unknown independent artists.
In fact, you can still get the Universe and other fine programming free there.
Still free. We're not charging for it yet. Mm-hmm. But they started going through a clean out because of copyright stuff. And that was like it was a great source for mashups. Mm-hmm. And they had a big sweep go through there for, copyright violations, and that killed a lot of the things that I enjoyed. And, people who are not making money off of their mashups, they're free downloads, you can listen for free. But that just sort of killed my enjoyment of it. And I don't even have it on my phone anymore.
What, SoundCloud?
Yeah. So they're cutting 40% of the staff. The streaming service will let go 173 of its 420 employees in order to ensure our path to long-term independent success. So in order to stay successful, they're going to have to let people go. It's going to shut down offices in San Francisco and London, leaving only New York and Berlin, which I didn't know they had, international. They've had a trying year. They may run out of money before the end of this year, and they took out a credit line from investors to stave off the collapse. So things may not be looking good overall for the app. And I really think when they went in there and started getting really, I don't want to say Nazi about it, but that just killed it for me. Oh, a mashup. What is a mashup? Mashup, well, you as a musician should have the best definition of this, but for me, I got involved in mashups about 1999 when I found them. It's when you take a song you know your whole life, and then somebody seamlessly takes another song that's completely unrelated, maybe even done in a different decade, and blends them together perfectly. And it can be 2 songs, 3 songs, 4 songs. It could be a whole bunch of songs. You can just go on YouTube still, and you can just type in mashup, and you're going to see video mashups for like TV shows and movies, but look for song mashups. I'm trying to think. I was telling you today, this is my favorite mashup. This is my favorite thing. You've listened to them with me before. Did you ever have a favorite one? You could recall that I still have like a stash of them. I won't tell you where I got them.
There's been a few there that, like, for example, Girls on Film with Kraftwerk.
Oh, yeah. We have this great mashup this guy did. It's Duran Duran's Girls on Film mashed up with Kraftwerk's is it Radioactive?
Yeah, Radioactive, yeah.
And this song called Girls from a modern artist I can't think of. And it's super cool and trippy. And it all just works really, really nice. I'm trying to open my mashup folder and try to think of something. I got a mashup of, what's this guy? Atomic Dog and Iggy Azalea's Fancy. It's like the two are made for each other. And then I listened to, what's that song by Yazoo, Don't Go? Somebody had taken that and mashed it up with Ed Sheeran's The Shape of You. Works perfectly. It's freaky how well it works. So,
just want to remind everybody tonight that, for Twitter, the question is out there for what movie traumatized you as a kid? Remember to post your replies on the @the Universe and hashtag it Space Cadets so that we can track all that good stuff. And wanted to make sure to bring that up.
Traumatized as a kid, and I told you mine was the birds. One last thing I want to mention, and I'll open up the phone line. Found this out. Speaking of underhanded practices. Listen to this. TV networks are purposely misspelling show names to avoid bad Nielsen ratings. And I can't believe Nielsen ratings are still a thing, but they are. So TV networks have figured out how to get around, some bad ratings if they know it's as easy as playing dumb. They said on days when they know that their viewership may drop, like, holidays, weekends, big sporting events, they will, quote unquote, accidentally misspell their show's name to trip up Nielsen so they don't get a bad rating for it. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. So, for example, they said Friday of the Memorial Day weekend, NBC aired NBC Nightly News, which is NBC Nitely instead of its usual NBC Nightly News spelled the correct way. So the holiday drop in viewership didn't affect its rating standing. So the Nielsen automated system counted that misspelling show as a entirely different program because it wasn't spelled correctly. So they managed to gain ratings against its major competitor, ABC World News Tonight. And NBC apparently misspelled its shows 14 times at the start of 2016 to 2017 TV season, and it's not the only network to do this. ABC did it 7 times on its WRLD new TONITE, while CBS replaces CBS Evening News with CBS Evening NWS 12 times. So it's not a real big secret anymore. Advertisers are catching on, and they're getting fed up and with this disingenuous practice. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I am not surprised. They're trying to keep their things seem like it's relevant, and since it's not relevant, there's an audience out there that's just not buying it. They're seeing through this BS of what they're doing. So that's my 2 cents. I'm sticking to it.
All right. I have opened up the phone line, the 844 number. And this is, sorry, I had to have that one extra M&M. It's so good. 844-734-7286. And this is our toll-free, no-cost-to-you number. And we've got someone now, and I think I know who this is. Let's see if you can guess who this is on the line. Are you there?
Caller?
Oh, we can't hear him.
Is it still doing the...
Yeah. Something's going on.
Why is it that we can't hear the studio call in, but we can hear Skype?
I don't know.
I mean, because that's bizarre.
Well...
Wait, are you running two different Skypes?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, caller, I apologize. Apparently we're having some technical difficulty with call-in studio, but if you want to call the backdoor number, which is
713-701-5214. Here, I'll put it in the chat. Sorry about that. I'll just go ahead and close the studio down because it is not working, and we'll have to figure this out afterwards. Yeah, sorry about that. Try the our Skype because that seems to be working. Unless you don't want to, and it costs you too much money. Okay, here's an unknown caller.
Caller, you're on the air.
I am your backdoor man.
Okay, we won't delve too deep into that one.
just a Jim Morrison reference.
How are you tonight, Dino?
Hi, how are you guys? I'm doing excellent. I hope you are. My health is great, and everything's good. I appreciate the opportunity to call in. We're dealing with the subject tonight of artificial intelligence and what things that technology are doing to us, and that's why I said I wanted a soapbox, because right now this net neutrality, which many of us phoned and wrote letters and emails just over a year ago to tell the FCC to leave it alone, and they did. And now the president has appointed a new guy, I won't mention his name, and he has, from the get-go, said, no, I'm going to do away with this. So as we speak, if you get emails, I get them from several rights organizations and electronic. One of them is the Electronic Frontiers Foundation, EFF,
yes,
which defends the right of people to use the internet for all of us for what we need, because it is now pretty much a necessity. I wouldn't have thought 10 years ago I would. I tried to avoid transactions, banking, but now everything's done on it. Even electronic signature to save you mail and to speed up. Now, the only the only people, and the only organizations that would be against this net neutrality and that are indeed pushing this new FCC head would be corporations, because they would, I don't want to make their argument for them, but it's going to help them and help their profit and bottom line and cutting jobs like you were just talking about. So that is why everybody should, this weekend or Monday at the latest, just go online start with Facebook, do a search for net neutrality. There are several organizations, and I have done this, that are asking for you to send emails to this guy, and to send emails to your congressman, and to send emails and make phone calls to your senators in your state to keep net neutrality. If we most people don't seem to understand that if they have faster internet speeds for people who can pay more for it, and for corporations that can pay more for it, it's gonna be as bad as being on the freeway and not being able to drive in the car share lane. Do you have those in Texas? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. HOVs. Yeah.
So that's the thing that bothers me. I'm asking everybody to take action because it's all of us, the people. One of the things that was argued last year was that the internet is really kind of a utility, like your water or your power if you're in a metropolitan area.
Yes, it is a utility.
You have no choice. I mean, it's something that's needed. I mean, I said I would never do it, but I don't use my cell phone much, but I got a smartphone because it's getting, so people look at me like I'm nuts. I go, well, I'll text you the directions. Oh, I don't have text, or if you need to find directions to a place and you forgot your TomTom or something, you kind of need a smartphone, and you definitely need internet access. So I'm asking people to take action on that, and that was one issue. And I don't know what you guys want to say about that.
Solana?
Well, if you don't know net neutrality, I don't understand what it's about, please take the time to educate yourself, because if you use the internet at home to get online, even if you're just reading email, a couple articles, playing solitaire online, you need to educate yourself, because
it'll affect you one way or another.
It'll affect you. You might get your internet throttled. Maybe you don't care about that, but it could affect your speeds. They could get more invasive with what information they're taking off of your connection. It's worth getting educated about, and if you do need to sign something or raise awareness, whatever you can do is good.
Yeah, and this is affecting our privacy. I mean,
yes.
Just in the last year. The last year, I pretty much had an unlisted number that I was on the do not call list.
Mm-hmm.
But with this internet and some of the decisions that were made, remember just a few months ago they said, well, whether it was Facebook or anybody, Google, anybody that you're online with, they decided to start sharing your private information. And I know that's why all of a sudden I'm getting robocalls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting calls for cruises that I don't care about, and I yell at them. I don't even pick up the phone anymore. I go, stop calling. I'm on the do not call list. I don't want a cruise. But they already have moved on, and they have a robot talking to you. Mm-hmm. So the artificial intelligence is here faster than we thought, and they will be able to do many things that I think they can do already. So one of the last stands we have to make is at least keep it so that we have equal access to the internet. I don't care. Yeah, I'm a member of Netflix, but I don't care if somebody else is going to be a little slower because I'm watching Netflix, as long as we're on an equal playing field. Because there are times I need it for business. I need the internet, and I'm not going to pay $200 a month to have the speed that I have now just so I can be in a fast lane internet if this decision gets changed, the FCC decision. Mm. So it's very important.
And that's the point you make, is that, let's say this cable company give you your internet, they provide you your internet, and you want to watch show on Netflix. Well, everybody around you is watching a streaming show on that cable company's service from their, so they might give the people around you priority for speed and internet, because they don't necessarily care about Netflix, because they see them as competition, and they want to maybe punish people who are using Netflix. That's one of the issues. Or Amazon.
Or
because
Hulu.
They're digging into their piece of the pie,
Yeah, and that's the thing. And so, and then on a second issue, I mean, it's very important. But on a second issue, which is related, you were speaking earlier about AI, and I think Tessa did too, and automation. Now, with all these things, and what just happened at Sears. Sears has been kind of going, but now they're going to take even more jobs and close even more stores. And that's kind of the people's department store. I mean, you can get good things at Sears still, you know. I've bought most of my tools there through the years. So now my Craftsman tool is not going to have a lifetime guarantee if they go out of business. So the key is, what are we going to do with as automation and the internet and AI is taking jobs away? Well, when I got out of college, they told us, don't worry, there'll be a 30-hour work week for everybody. That will be considered full-time. You'll have an extra day off. They said, don't worry. And I said, well, what kind of things should we study for? Because not everybody has the aptitude or the desire to become a coder.
Yeah, because, I mean, if we're not the person that's making the AI or taking care of the AI or repairing the AI, what will we be doing?
Yeah, and they keep saying, well, that's where the good jobs are. Let's train the kids. And I've seen it in the schools around here. So they have, we're going to do a week of coding. And they bring in, and the corporations came in, like they had one school I know in my area, Salesforce. And they brought in all their people and on the company payroll and came in, and they got everybody a laptop at one school. And they said, okay, now we're going to do coding. And they had this little program that these kids were doing, and some kids got into it, but not everybody's going to be a coder, and not everybody's going to be able to make $150,000 a year. And so what do you do? What do you do when the jobs are taken away, and not everybody has an aptitude, not everybody wants to go to college anymore, and not everybody can get, even if they can get training, will have a job that pays enough. So they told us back when I was in college, don't worry, recreation will be a big industry because people will have more free time. Are you seeing it? Yeah, I'm on my computer at home. Yeah, I use it to sign documents. Yeah, I use it to buy things sometimes. But guess what? It generates even more paper. I'm using my printer constantly. It was supposed to be a paperless thing coming up. And recreation jobs, yeah, a lot of people went when in my generation and got degrees in recreation or something, but there are not enough jobs. So we got to ask ourselves, what will AI do for us as far as making a living and being able to maintain a middle-class existence in the future economy?
That's a great, thought-provoking question. Tell Dino what you were telling me earlier about producing too many educated.
I think that was.
Stop scratching your head.
And I'm sorry, I was itchy.
Didn't hear that.
I was. I guess I had heard something to the effect that, we've been promoting or pushing women to become more educated,
especially in STEM.
And I guess I had heard offhand where now we have this overabundance of educated women, and yet now men, and I'm referring to the younger generation here, are more caveman-like. And when I say caveman, one can even say they're in their man caves playing their video games in their mom's basement, and
drinking beer.
Drinking beer. So
well, if they want to go to college, they can go. Nobody's stopping them.
Look, I think that college is not for everyone.
No, not. But I'm just saying.
Well, who can afford it now? See, they were trying to make it for everyone when I went to college, and they help you out. Now with these horrible interest rates and student loans, I mean, even if you want to go, you say they can go to college. No, you can't. Just because you want to, you can't anymore in America. You can go to community college maybe, but that's not enough.
I objected to there's an overproduction of educated women. Bull crap. I think there's an overproduction of idiots.
Well, there are only so many jobs. That's the thing, male or female. And that's the key. We got to stop fighting each other, and this is what, if you get into the conspiracy theories, this is what it's all about, is that pit people against one another, The 1% of the 1% get richer and richer, therefore they control. So anyway, so before we go, I just wanted to say one more thing. I just found out, I thought it was a joke tonight on the internet, that they're now starting to pull people over for DUI, driving under influence. Even if they're not drunk, they give them a breathalyzer test. The officer can say, "Oh, I think you've been smoking marijuana. Have you ever smoked it?" Well, some people are saying no, or yeah, I used to smoke it. And they're arresting you because in the officer's judgment, he's not an AI, he thinks you're stoned. And there are people that fight this, and then 4 months later, and court costs later, of course they get dismissed because they're tested and they didn't have marijuana. But law enforcement's able to, because you were driving a little funny, that's scary.
Yes, that is scary.
And that, that's really, when it gets to that point, it's up to the public as a whole to combat that.
We've just got a law here in Texas about no texting while driving.
Yeah, well, we've had that for a while, but the point is, that's where you can be observed doing something. But if you go over the line when you're driving down the freeway, you're whatever reason, you're distracted or you change the radio, and an officer pulls you over and asks you, gives you the drunk test, okay, you're not drunk, he can then go, well, you're taking some kind of drugs. And, of course, you deny it. Well, I don't believe you. I'm arresting you. And they actually are handcuffing people now and arresting them and making them spend the night in jail. And then, of course, it gets cleared up a few months later. But it's affecting people's lives. People are having their licenses taken away because they heard they were arrested, not convicted, arrested. And that's not the America I was taught to grow up in.
No.
Nope. Indeed. Well, Dino, we
on
appreciate
that uplifting note.
We appreciate you calling in and setting the mood.
I appreciate the soapbox, but times are serious. We got to get serious.
Yes, we agree, Dino. You will not get an argument there. We do live in some times, and as always, as I keep harping, is that we should never give up hope, and just put our best foot forward to command the future back to ourselves and not let it fall.
And stay vigilant.
And stay vigilant, exactly.
And stay thirsty.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
My friend. You must be the world's most interesting couple.
Well, we are.
We try.
All right, Dino. Appreciate you calling.
Yes.
Okay, I'll call you back.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, what an interesting night, Sirlana. It blows by so quick.
He was right. He hit the nail on the head with everything he said, I think.
I believe so. So, real quick, some housekeeping.
Yeah, coming up next week. We're going to talk about next week's show.
Yep.
Same time, same place. You will be, we, both of us, I'll be here most likely. Be talking to J3 Films. And who are J3 Films?
Well, John is the main guy we'll be talking with next week. And the interesting thing about J3 Films is they created the documentary of Stan Romanek, and I don't have the name of the extraordinary, I believe is the name. Extraordinary. You said it. It's late, and I'm getting discombobulated. But, I'm excited. We're going to talk about, John and his company and his filming and, get to know him.
And the experience of filming that.
And exactly, to get a little bit of history behind the Stan Romanek thing. And
what his impressions and thoughts were. And
I'm just excited to get into that subject matter because we talked about it last year. And we had Stan call in, and that was just exciting.
Talk about the ultimate high five moment.
It's like, so that's going to be next week. So make sure to tune into that. That'll be a fiery conversation.
And I don't have it over there, but I need to write it down. On the 22nd, our show, we'll be talking to, it will be pre-recorded because of the time differences, but hopefully you will still tune in because we'll still be here, and you can listen to us talk to. Yeah,
because we still have banter.
Yeah,
and there'll be.
It may not be 3 full hours that we talk to this guy because of the time differences, but we'll talk to Dr. Sam Samir Osmanagish. I don't know if that's right, but he's Bosnian-born, Houstonian resident author, researcher, businessman. And he's the one who discovered an ancient pyramid complex in Bosnia-Herzegovina with 11 artificial structures. And this was a really big deal, and we're going to learn all about all that together.
That's going to be very exciting.
Yes.
And we're still trying to nail down the week after that. We're
going back and forth with somebody for the 29th. So.
But I tell you what, if we get this person, it'll be really cool, because this person is just really cool.
I'm sure people in the chat already know this person too.
Yeah, so somebody you might know, and we're working towards that, and so that's all good. So that's what's coming up over the next few weeks, and then plus in the long term, we're still working towards Maker Faire, and that's going to be good. But I guess that's all I can think of about this time, Solana. Is there anything else?
Somebody's asking what time is that in Pacific time. I'm like, I only know Central.
What?
Our show.
Our show in Pacific time, I believe, is 7.
Mm-hmm.
7, 8. Yeah, 7, 8, 9. Yes. It's 7 o'clock on the West Coast, 10 o'clock on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So, believe me or not.
Okay, thanks, Dino. Yeah.
So, I guess I just would like to give you any opportunity to say anything before we leave.
No, just stay tuned. Good shows coming up. Good content coming up a little later in the year. But we'll be looking for more people to interview and have good conversations. And there's no stopping this train, man.
All right.
We're not going anywhere.
Just remember, we bring you the universe. So explore with us. And we'll see you next week. Say goodnight, Solana.
Nah.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Executive producer is Sir Lana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K, K28, Mark S, and Bob N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.